Greetings, guys! With 2 arcs under our belt, we've finally reached the second to last arc. Things are only going to get more interesting as the ending approaches, and as the final threat unveils itself. Before we start though, we'd like to remind you all to check out the description for ways to support us. And if you have any skills that could help us in the making of this series, don't be afraid to contact us. So with that out of the way, let's not wait any longer. Get ready and jump straight into it. Chapter 11. From Beyond the Grave. BBA Legacy is walking away from their battle against the Red Fang.
It's really strange to think the Red Fang turned out to be pretty alright in the end. That ghost girl still creeps me out though.
Makoto comments. Rin teases him.
She certainly seems to have taken a liking in you after the battle.
Huh?
Makoto seemed confused, but then remembers something.
Oh yeah, almost forgot to ask. What happened with you and the council? They are not gonna take Drigger from you now, right?
Rin smiles.
Well, the decision has been postponed. You see, it's a bit more complicated than that. Drigger is meant to be passed down to the leader of the clan, and the leader must be respected among the village, not to mention fit to lead it. So you could say through this, I've obtained a goal of my own.
Makoto speaks with determination.
That's awesome! Considering how much we improved when fighting the Red Fang, I honestly think there's a good chance we're gonna win this. I'll be the king of Beyblading, you'll be the next head of the White Tigers, and Gao will—
Gao interrupts him aggressively.
It's not that simple.
Huh?
Rin and Makoto look at him as they keep on walking. Gao continues.
Don't underestimate the level of the bladers that have advanced into the finals. They are the very creme de la creme of the sport, especially the ones from Balkov Abbey.
Kenny gulps, and suddenly stops, as does everyone else walking behind him.
I'm afraid it's so much worse than you guys could possibly imagine.
Kenny brings up the newspaper from before, and unfolds it for them all to read.
I didn't want to tell you this in the midst of battle with the Red Fang, but a major event occurred yesterday that has shook the entire Beyblade world to its very core.
Revealing the front page saying, Major attack at Balkov Abbey. Former world champion Andrei Umanov killed.
No way!
Makoto says, as Gao looks at it with a worried face.
Seems like we're gonna miss the Red Fangs.
Meanwhile in Russia, Kai has just arrived at the Abbey, walking by it in a calm demeanor, even though the place has been trashed beyond recognition. He walks up to Tala, overseeing the repairs and reconstruction. Kai speaks in a strict voice.
I came as quickly as I could. Now tell me, how could this ever have been allowed to happen?
Tala wears a face of deep regret as he turns around slightly.
Straight to the point as always, I see.
Tala starts walking away slowly.
Come with me. What I'm about to tell you is best left for your ears alone.
So they walk off into the distance. Tala sits down on a rock with a depressed face, while Kai stands by an old dead tree, looking off into the distance, asking with great demand.
So, what happened?
It all went down when me and Spencer were away with Yaroslav, trying to fix the arrangements for the tournament and the finals.
Tala sighs.
They came at dawn. A large armada of mysterious bladers attacked on the northern wing, and that's when...
The chapter moves on into a full-on flashback, with powerful Balkov blader trainees running forth like soldiers, fighting against the masked intruders moving in from within the forest. Countless bladers fight fiercely to defend their school, as Bryan screams out commanding them.
Don't give an inch! Let them know the full wrath of Balkov Abbey!
An endless array of battles rages on, as suddenly a whooshing sound strikes through them all, friend and foe alike. The whooshing blur of light lands in the very midst of the commotion, revealing itself as a powerful blade. The blades it passed by break apart, even the ones he didn't even touch.
What the?
Bryan's eyes open wide in complete horror. A feathered, brightly colored wing is shown flying against the sun, as a blader descends from the sky in a huge blast, landing in a kneeling motion before the powerful bay.
That is...
Bryan instantly makes the association in his head, glaring at the winged figure. This is a power all of the old generation are far too familiar with, a power the public have only been acquainted with once before. Several close-up shots are shown of the wicked-looking opponent, wearing a sinister smirk as he rises up slowly. The students are horrified. One of them, Bogdan, is stuttering.
No way.
Pyotr watches in great shock as he's asking,
A demon?
The mysterious character starts looking around, declaring,
The name is Rex Logan.
He looks around at all the students.
Please, tell me that this is not all the infamous Belkov Bladers has to offer?
Bryan screams out in panic.
Everyone, run away, quickly!
Logan's blade charges out a powerful shockwave, sending everyone flying away except for Bryan, who hastily rips his blade to spear the wave before him.
Please try not to bore me.
Rex Logan stares Bryan down as he struggles through the fierce shockwave that takes out everyone around them. Bryan thinks,
Damn it! This guy's too dangerous to let out of my sight.
Suddenly there's an explosion on the opposite side of the Abbey, making Bryan turn, thinking,
Ian, hang in there.
He sets his sights towards Rex Logan and charges towards him, thinking,
I'm coming to help you soon.
On the opposite side, Skelton is walking calmly through the smoke of the explosion, with 5 strong-looking bladers trailing along behind him. The former world champion, Andrei Umanov, laying dead on the ground. The female blader leading the charge of the 5 following Skelton, leans down picking up the blade of the dead champion, stating,
A fitting trophy.
She puts the blade in her pocket, as Ian calls back towards them.
Stop! I'm not through with you!
The group keeps following Skelton, as he keeps on walking with an evil smirk, answering the beat-up Ian.
I don't have any time to waste on the likes of you.
A huge roar comes from the opposite direction, as Ian has a mighty beast that has been summoned before him.
Oh, I'm sure your Wyborg will make a fine meal for good old Angra, though.
Skelton says, as Ian looks on in terror at the huge shadow appearing in the smoke with spikes and armor around its body, and you can see 2 red glowing eyes with horns above them. Ian is startled as he looks at its huge jaws and fangs.
What the hell is that thing?
As he walks on towards the main entrance with hordes of Beybladers waiting before him, Skelton adds,
A word of warning, though. The pit beasts that Angra consumes are forever dissolved into him, forever lost to you, but always adding to Angra's power. So, say your final farewell, while you still can.
The unseen Angra has got Wyborg in its giant tooth-filled jaw as the mighty monster tears Wyborg straight out of the blade, not even bothering to fight it, just breaking it instantly with the pull.
Wyborg!
Ian screams out in desperation before he's sent flying off with a bang, landing having been knocked unconscious far away after losing his bit beast forever, as you hear a dreadful gulp. The wielder of Angra still remaining unknown, as Skelton walks on laughing with his Beyblade in his hand, and the army of the Belkov Abbey's elite stops him by the gate.
You're not going anywhere,
the leader of the group says.
We're the strongest bladers in the world, and we will defend our home till the very last man.
The entourage of around 100 Beybladers from Balkov's best all raise their bays instantly towards Skelton and his group.
We're all highly ranked champion level bladers, the very best of Balkov's elite. Surrender now, and nobody needs to get hurt.
Champion level, you say?
Skelton smiles.
How intriguing.
Skelton looks up at them with glaring eyes.
How about this? If even one of you can last as long as 5 seconds against me in a battle, then I'll let you live. Heck, I'll even leave peacefully. But should you fail, I will kill all of you where you stand.
Stop screwing around!
The leader screams as they all rip their bays all around the place. Skelton draws his launcher quicker than the eye can catch, and rips his blade as he's starting to count down inside his head.
1.
The 100 blades all face him at high speed.
2.
The opponents are sent flying all around him, with Skelton's blade moving like a flash at ultra-high speed, tearing them all apart.
3.
All of the bladers lay defeated on the ground. Skelton strikes his cane down at the hand of the defeated leader, bleeding below.
Ah!
Then the camera rolls up to Skelton, smirking sadistically as he adds,
You were 2 seconds too slow.
The leader looks up from the ground, coughing blood.
Can't be.
Skelton stares at them with fanatic gaze.
There's a new age coming, and weaklings like you have no place in it.
Skelton finishes, as suddenly all of their lives end in an echoing choir of screams as Skelton is laughing to himself. The girl that was at the helm of his minions looks away in slight disgust at the mess, with blood flying all around them as she thinks.
I really hate messy finishes.
Skelton's shoes are shown walking through the blood-stained snow, as the giant main doors that the Blade Breakers broke through long ago in Season 1 are suddenly slammed in, flying away at high speed, crashing down in the opposite side of the hall with a huge bang. Skelton walks ahead through the smoke as the students within the Abbey look on in horror, seeing his silhouette, hearing his twisted laughter as he steps inside, finishing with the words,
"Come out and play, children. We're gonna have a real fun time."
Bryan hears the screams from the distance. Most of the Bladers around him defeated, and the rest are running away as they know this opponent is too much for them. Bryan looks back at Rex Logan and thinks,
I have to finish this quickly and go back. That did not sound good.
Bryan holds Rex back, assuming a battle stance, then screams out,
I will not let you lay a single hand on my students. Go, Falborg!
He releases Falborg in full strength, cutting up the way in which Rex Logan is trying to fly away, but he dodges the attack, intent to harm him as it slices up the ground. Bryan comments,
I will not hold back, not one bit. I'll do whatever it takes to beat you.
Rex smirks, flying away toward the mountainside, taunting.
Bring it on then.
Stroblitz!
Bryan screams, cutting after Rex. The slices going through rock after rock, his Falborg blade chasing after the opponent. Rex calls out, smirking.
Keep him on the move, Thunderbird.
Bryan charges after him, clenching his fist.
Destroy him!
Falborg strikes after it time and time again, but the Thunderbird dodges constantly. Bryan's cut eventually hitting the mountain wall, cracking it to the length of several meters, eventually breaking the entire mountain in half. Rex flies up into the air, along with his bay laughing before the crash.
You're far too slow, old man.
And you're far too young to be giving me a lecture, kid.
Bryan looks up and screams into the heavens.
Falborg, fly!
Falborg flies up through the rubble into the sky, going straight for his airborne opponent, cutting again and again as Rex Logan dodges desperately. Eventually, Bryan manages to get a cut in on Logan's cheek, making it bleed, and Falborg MS lands a hard hit at Thunderbird. Rex is stunned.
He's a lot better than I thought.
Meanwhile, inside the Abbey, Skelton's underlings have defeated all the Bladers inside, as Skelton starts marching straight ahead, not caring who he steps on. Skelton heads straight down towards the secret forbidden levels beneath the Abbey.
Come along, it's this way.
You sure seem to know your way around this place.
The girl asks curiously. The underlings follow along silently. Skelton smirks wide as he's entering the old corridors.
Can you feel it? The atmosphere. The smell of death. The feeling of pure and raw despair. It's still in the air even after all these years.
As Skelton walks along, his words echo.
This was once the hideout of the great Boris, where he used to work his magic.
Skelton stops at a spot and looks down.
But that was before his fall from grace, of course.
Skelton points at the spot, which leads to the boys following him, bringing up crowbars, removing the stones from the floor, unveiling the skeleton of a young boy under the rock floor.
Seems the little runaway did not run too far after all.
Skelton chuckles to himself, then moves on.
Boris always used all of the Abbey's failed warriors as guinea pigs for his research. He'd experiment on them until there was nothing left. Talk about being resourceful.
Skelton laughs to himself, walking away through the halls, looking around. The girl notices, asking,
You seem even more cheerful than usual, Mr. Skelton, sir.
I can't help it. As I walk through these old corridors, it almost feels as if the old fox were still around, watching us and cheering us on.
Skelton says, as he reaches one of those large sealed doors that Black Dronzer were locked behind in Season 1. He instantly starts putting the code in.
I, for one, am glad that the old bag is dead and gone. He sounds like a major creep from what I've heard,
the girl says, as Skelton seems slightly offended.
Watch your tongue, Iska. I can take that shit from Solomon, but you're still new to our ranks. I'll not have you insult a genius of his caliber in my presence. Got it?
Duly noted.
Iska responds without much hint of emotion, as he opens up the door revealing a Beyblade, sealed up in the middle of the room, put in the jaws of a gruesome-looking wolf's head.
Welcome to treasure trove number 1.
Skelton states, walking up to it. Iska looks around.
It seems no one's been here for a very long time.
It'd take more than a nuclear blast to blow these doors down. They probably figured it wasn't worth the trouble.
Skelton responds as he's unlocking the bay from its wolf head holder.
Will you look at this? Fenris, the great demon wolf. One of the 9 cursed Beyblades. Legend has it that when his chains are broken, it will signify the beginning of Armageddon, the end of the world. Many bladers throughout history have tried to wield him, but each and every one of those that attempted to control this cursed bay all died due to its immense power.
Skelton says, then throws the blade at one of his minions.
Here, catch!
The minion jumps away in terror, thinking it's going to kill him, as Skelton walks away laughing. Iska moves down, picking the Beyblade up, lecturing them.
You fool! The blade would not kill you from simply touching it.
The highest of the underlings bow in respect.
Forgive us, Mistress Iska.
Get a move on and start looking for stones that might be removed.
Skelton says in a demanding voice, then moves along with an angry expression.
I still haven't found our main prize.
At the same time, Rex Logan's match against Bryan rages on, Thunderbird constantly trying to dodge Bryan's wind attacks at high speed. He gets mad, screaming fanatically.
Strike! Strike! Strike!
Cutting again and again with his wind attacks, one of them slicing another mountain up in half. As he goes for the Thunderbird blade, Foulborg hits him once more as Rex falls to the ground, ending his demon-like form, going into normal mode.
Damn it, you're strong.
The Thunderbird blade charges up as Rex rises tall, finishing his sentence.
But you have one fatal weakness.
Rex looks at the students hiding in the forest and charges his blade after them. Bryan gets horrified and screams out,
No, don't!
The students scream out in terror, trying to get away from the lightning attack that is coming for them, along with the Thunderbird bit and its bay. Suddenly, Bryan jumps in front of the attack's path, taking it head-on, being electrocuted alive. The students scream out in fright.
Bryan!
Meanwhile, Skelton is searching through the halls.
Come on, old man. Show me the way. Give me the key to exact your vengeance.
Skelton says, speaking to himself, when suddenly he imagines seeing a hint of Boris's coat from behind the corner of his eye. He follows it along, leading him up the stairs like he's hearing footsteps before him. He reaches all the way up to Boris's old office, and imagines the ghost of old Boris standing before him, with those dark glasses he always had, standing there by the window, looking out onto the training field below. Skelton smiles big.
I knew you wouldn't let me down.
He walks up to a painting on the wall, like he has a second sense of where to look. As he removes the painting and the stone behind it, he finds an old box and gets it out. Behind him, he hears footsteps, as Iska has entered into the office too.
Have you found it?
Yes.
Skelton opens the box with a knife, revealing a bundle of papers inside as he answers,
This, my dear, is Boris's final will and testament.
Skelton takes the papers and rolls them together. Iska is confused.
But what is it?
He stares fanatically at the papers.
It's the last key to a weapon of unfathomable magnitude.
Bryan lays on the ground outside, burned all over from the attack.
They always said I could never feel anything or care about anyone. It's kind of ironic that the way I should die is by sacrificing myself for someone else.
Bryan says with a faint voice, as he coughs up some blood. He speaks up towards Rex Logan in great anger.
So what are you waiting for? Just do it! Keeping the Abbey safe during Tala's absence was my responsibility, so end your damn gloating and finish the job!
Rex looks at him with discontent as he hunches down towards Bryan, as he reaches his hand out, moving it down.
You really don't get it, do you, old man?
He pats his cheek.
This is not an assassination. This is just to leave a message.
Bryan gets furious.
A message? You did all this just to leave a message?
Rex Logan gets up as a lamp on his belt starts beeping. Rex looks towards the Abbey and spits.
Just typical. I never get to finish things in peace for that bastard Skelton. It's a shame, too. You gave me a fun fight, and you showed me how much stronger I have to become before my message finally sinks in for them.
He then turns his face towards Bryan again, with the gaze of a predator.
The message I want you to leave is for the Blade Breakers.
A chopper rises into the sky behind him as Rex Logan finishes.
Tell that we are coming for them.
A rope is thrown down to him, and he puts his foot into it and ends the sentence shouting out,
Let them know that I, Rex Logan, will be coming for them.
After which the chopper flies away into the horizon. After Kai has finished hearing the story, he states,
It's very tragic what has happened.
No kidding. Half of the Abbey was wiped out in this attack. Luckily, both Ian and Bryan have survived, even though they're in pretty bad shape.
Tala looks both sad and extremely worried.
What really worries me is how these attackers seem to know their way around the Abbey. They didn't even need to break down the door to get to Fenris. It's as if these people knew Boris even better than I ever did.
Kai gets serious.
The bad news doesn't end there, I'm afraid.
Tala gets surprised.
What do you mean?
Kai looks down.
You know, since Fenris was one of the 2 forbidden bays of the Abbey, I decided to look up the second one.
Tala's eyes open wide in complete horror.
You don't mean...
Yeah, I found out as soon as I entered the Hiratari Corporation's secret vault.
Kai responds, as a flashback is shown of Kai riding on an electric drawbridge, drawing out towards the center of a metallic room where there's a round chamber in the middle.
I don't know when they did it or how they did it, but once I got there, what is perhaps the most dangerous Beyblade the world has ever known was gone.
He walks up to the chamber, opening it, revealing an empty spot shaped for a Beyblade.
And we may just have to prepare ourselves for Black Johns' inevitable return.
Kai finishes, to the shot of someone holding a new updated HMS version of Black Dronzer in his hand. The image pans up, revealing it to be Shadow from the last chapter, and beside him stands Skelton. They are looking down over an airport down below, as the wind flows through them and the sky is red as blood. A plane lands, and Skelton smirks.
Seems they have finally arrived.
Shadow looks on with those rough-looking mannerisms.
It's about time we move on to Phase 2. Are you prepared to do what is necessary should our next step succeed?
Skelton smirks.
Yes. I have learned there's only one way to slay a dragon, and that's to aim for its heart.
He fixes his eyes on Makoto and BBA Legacy stepping out of the plane. Skelton starts laughing eerily as the image pans out and fades to black. So that's the end of the 11th chapter of the final Legacy Saga. I hope you enjoyed it, and be sure to subscribe for more, as things are going to heat up in the chapters ahead. Before we leave, we'll also mention a Shadow chapter, which we will skip writing out for now. It would be focusing on Gao and Makoto's first match in the finals. Gao would be having a hard time mastering his new Dronzer MF, and the two of them would be arguing a lot. So to create a team spirit between them, Kenny would have decided to allow them to fight in a tag team battle together. They'd be up against 2 tag team professionals called the Tasmanian Duo from the Australian section. Their bit beast would be a Tasmanian Devil, as well as a Tasmanian Tiger, since these 2 animals have not been used before. Gao and Makoto would argue most of the battle, and thus find themselves nearly losing, but then eventually deciding to work together, finding out that when they work as one, they are truly a force to be reckoned with. It'd actually be a very interesting chapter since we never got to see Kai and Tyson in a tag team. It'd also been good for making character progression with Gao and Makoto's relation to each other. But in a lot of ways, it'd feel like filler, and there are so much more going on straight after this, so this was the only chance we had to mention it. I also hope you think this new concept of mentioning the Shadow chapters at the end of the official chapter is a better concept so everyone could choose whether to stay or leave. Remember, the Shadow chapters are still canon events, even though we don't have the time to write everything out.